Ma il Boeing del Pentagono non è l'unico a mancare all'appello di quel giorno. Questa donna mostra l'unica fotografia che sia stata scattata entro pochi secondi dalla caduta del volo United 93 in un campo della Pennsylvania. E questo era l'aereo originale, un Boeing 757, siglato N592UA. Inizialmente si era sparsa la voce che fosse stato abbattuto in volo e le diverse testimonianze di rottami e di resti umani ritrovati nell'arco di molte miglia sembravano confermarlo. Ma la versione ufficiale ha voluto che l'aereo sia stato fatto schiantare al suolo dagli stessi passeggeri, in un gesto di eroismo. In quel caso, però, questa enorme massa di acciaio avrebbe dovuto arrivare fino a terra intatta, scomparendo poi per intero in questa buca di pochi metri, che sembra quasi disegnata da un autore di cartoni animati. Non c'è più niente. Non un timone di coda, un pezzo d'ala, un carrello, nulla. Ma in tutti gli incidenti di questo tipo, anche nei peggiori, almeno i motori e il troncone di coda rimangono comunque riconoscibili. Mentre qui non c'è assolutamente nulla che si possa far risalire a un Boeing 767. Solo dei piccolissimi rottami della misura di 20-30 cm al massimo, che potrebbero appartenere a qualunque cosa. Ernie Stull, il sindaco di Shanksville, è stato uno dei primi ad accorrere sul posto.
And there's no airplane.
You lived here where you live?
Yes. No airplane.
Nothing. It was just little pieces. There was nothing to actually, like a door or window or anything. You couldn't really, it was just little pieces of shrapnel everywhere.
Dennis Rodney è il direttore del Pittsburgh Gazette.
Airplane debris? Nothing I could identify.
Purtroppo ci sono pochissime immagini a disposizione e sono tutte molto simili. I reporter locali, infatti, pur essendo accorsi entro pochi minuti, hanno trovato la zona già interamente recintata dagli uomini dell'FBI che non li lasciavano avvicinare. Non tutti, però. Uno di loro ha fatto in tempo ad aggirare il blocco e a entrare nella boscaglia dalla parte posteriore.
From a distance there are no signs of wreckage, just a gaping hole in the earth. But up close, in the woods behind the crater, are small monuments to a very large, horrific event. What's that right there? Right there. Over in here. A 4-inch long piece of honeycomb insulation. A foot-long chunk of aluminum with a Phillips head screw attached. A page torn from a magazine. The bits of wreckage are everywhere. You know, at first I wasn't even sure that this was, that these were pieces of the plane. They're so small, and it's indistinguishable. You can't tell whether it's a piece of the fuselage or a piece of the seats. You don't know what it is. But we are literally surrounded right now by debris, and there's a very strong odor of the scorched earth. Is the only way I can describe it. It doesn't smell like jet fuel. It smells like, Kendall, how do you describe it?
It's burned earth.
Burned earth. It smells like burned earth.
Odore di terra bruciata, hanno detto, e non di kerosene. Torniamo ora alla fotografia scattata dopo l'impatto. In effetti il fungo è il risultato tipico dell'esplosione di una bomba. Queste sono immagini scattate in Afghanistan, subito dopo un bombardamento da parte degli americani. Mentre un aereo che cade carico di carburante solleva al cielo una lunga colonna di fumo nero che continua a bruciare per molte ore. Sembrerebbe quindi che sia stata approntata una esplosione a terra, piena di ferraglia qualunque, per simulare un impatto al suolo, mentre la mancanza dei veri rottami sembra indicare che l'aereo sia stato davvero colpito in volo. Altre testimonianze paiono confermarlo.
We saw the plane basically in an inverted position, going in at a steep angle, and knew it was going to hit. And next thing was over the horizon, there was a big, huge fireball. That's what it was. I'd say at least 400 or 500 feet in the air.
gathered all the information I could and quickly learned that there were a lot of things about the crash of Flight 93 that didn't really add up right away. The fact that debris fell on this lake a couple miles away at the same time that the plane was crashing, the fact that some lighter pieces of debris that definitely came from the plane, like mail that was in the cargo section, blew as far as 8 or 9 miles away.
Vi sono poi dei testimoni che hanno visto un piccolo aereo allontanarsi dal luogo dell'incidente subito dopo la caduta del Boeing.
When I got up here almost to the stop sign, this small white plane, at the time, that's what I thought it was, went over top of me. It was so smooth, and it just glided right over me, just like that. We got to watching it on TV, and they kept saying that it was a large plane, like a 757. And I was like, no. What I saw was no jet. That would have blown me off the road if it went over me, that close.
Standing there watching on TV, and the lights flickered in the building. About that time, we heard the engines roar, and we took off out of the building. As we were coming out from the office out through the building, the ground shook, and we heard, big boom. Looked over and saw the big ball of fire up in the air. We got there, like I said, probably within 45 seconds or a minute of impact. We were there. We were there before any firemen, any paramedics, or anybody. We were on site. When we got there was a plane flying up above, and he was smart. He flew straight for the sun, so you couldn't look at it and see exactly what type of plane or if it was a fighter or what it was. But we caught a glimpse of it, and as he was swinging, he was basically traveling in the same direction as the plane.
So, like I said, about 11:30 that night, the FBI came, wanted to talk to me. They kept asking me how big the plane was. I said the plane, it was small, wasn't much bigger than my van that I saw, and that it went over top of me. And he says, you don't know what a 757 looks like. And I said, don't be condescending to me. If you don't want to believe me, that's fine. But what I saw, I thought I should report. And you ought to know there was something else in the air at the same time this was going on. And that's when he did seem to get a little nicer. Told me that it was a white Learjet. Someone was taking pictures. I said, before the crash? And he says, well, we got to go.
So I was sitting there talking to another guy, and I was telling him about, he said, did you see the plane crash and whatever, was you there or anything? And I told him the whole story. And I was explaining to him about whenever we were standing in the office and the lights flickered and everything, and there was another gentleman sitting in the row in front of me that was retired from the Air Force. And as soon as he heard me say that, he immediately stopped me and he said, tell me this. And I told him, and he says, well, I'm retired from the Air Force. He said, that plane was shot down. And I said, why? And he said, because whenever the lights flickered, they zapped the radar frequency on everything before they shoot. And he said, that's why your lights flickered. Your lights didn't flicker from the impact. Your lights flickered because they zapped the radar system before they shot it.
United 93, Cleveland, do you still hear the center? United 93, do you still hear Cleveland? United 93, United 903, do you hear Cleveland? American 1060, do you see anybody northwest of you? Can you see back that far there? We're looking now, sir. Yeah, we do have a smoke puff out about, probably 2 o'clock. It appears to be just a dark cloud, like a puff of black smoke.
Ma a questo punto non è importante stabilire soltanto che il Boeing sia stato davvero abbattuto in volo. Se nel frattempo era stata approntata una buca per simularne la caduta in quel punto preciso, vuol dire che il destino di United 93 era già stato deciso fin dall'inizio